So, you've got a mortgage and you want to know, should I pay off my mortgage early? Absolutely not. Hey everyone, my name is Justin Conroy, Financial Dad, and let's go ahead and get right to the content. I've got 3 main points that I'd like to make regarding why you shouldn't pay off your mortgage early. Let's begin. First reason that you shouldn't pay off your mortgage early is simply opportunity cost. Now, my YouTube analytics tell me that most of my audience resides between the age of 20 and 35 years old, so let's use that as a baseline. Let's start with the 20-year-old. If you're 20 years old, have you ever really considered how much money a dollar for you is worth if you were to invest that into the market? Well, there's a simple calculation that you can do, and it's called compound interest. So let's take, for example, that you're 20 years old, and you're going to cash out your money at the age of 65. That gives you 45 years of compounding. Now, if we assume that you invest in something that gets you a 10% growth rate, which by the way is the average growth rate of the S&P 500 over the last 70 years, you'll see that a dollar for you today is actually worth $88 for you in the future. Let's say that again. That's a dollar today is actually $88 for your 65-year-old self. That's a crazy amount of compounding that goes on in that amount of time. Running that same math on a 35-year-old who's going to retire at the age of 65, that still gets us almost $20 in the future. So you have somewhere between a 1 and 88 to a 1 and $20 ratio for money that you're going to invest today. But how much is that same dollar worth if we put it into our principal balance on our mortgage instead? Let's take a look. So I'm here on bankrate.com where they have a really nice amortization calculator. Let's plug in $300,000 for our mortgage over 30 years, and let's make our interest rate something really horrible like 10%. Now you can see over here on the right that we're going to owe $647,777.30 on interest over the 30 years that we're talking about having this mortgage. Now let's go down here to the bottom and simulate what would happen if we put a one-time payment of $1 into our mortgage near the beginning when that dollar is most valuable in this amortization calculation. We can scroll back up and see that we now will owe $647,758.62. So let's do the math. We know how much interest we're going to pay if we put nothing in our mortgage, and we know how much interest we're going to pay if we put $1 into the principal balance near the beginning of the amortization. Plug in the numbers and we get $18.68. That's how much money that our $1 is worth in 30 years over the course of this mortgage. Now compare that to the range we were talking about earlier. Again, if you're 20 years old, that $1 is worth $88, and if you're 35 years old, that $1 is worth about $20. Plus, keep in mind that we plugged in a terrible interest rate on our mortgage just to be super conservative and to prove a point. So with that knowledge in your hand, why would you invest your $1 into your principal balance on your mortgage when you could invest that $1 into something that's going to be so much more valuable? Now this brings me to my second point, which is still related to opportunity cost, but I want to walk through the best case scenario. What does that possibly look like? Let's move back to our calculator. Let's go back to our previous example, except this time we're going to use $300,000 for our mortgage and 2.5 for our interest rate, since that's around today's value. Now that means that we're going to end up paying just under $127,000 over 30 years on this loan. So let's say that we have some magical best case scenario opportunity. We've just been given $300,000 to do with as we please. Should we pay off our mortgage? Well, we have the opportunity to put $300,000 towards our mortgage and save $127,000 in interest over the next 30 years. But what else do we have the opportunity to do? Well, we could take that same $300,000 and invest it. What would that look like? Well, if we took our same $300,000 and put it into the S&P 500 for 45 years and assumed that it kept growing at an annual rate of 10% per year, we're looking at a $26 million opportunity. Heck, let's even drop the interest rate from 10% to 5%. We're still looking at a $2.8 million opportunity. So I ask you again, if you have the opportunity to pay off your mortgage and save $127,000, or invest that same money and make more than $2 million, which should you choose? All right, well, the numbers speak for themselves, but what else is there? Well, let's move on to my third reason, which is liquidity. So your home is one of the most non-liquid assets that you can possibly have. And you can think about the equity in your home as a type of bank account. If you're putting in money into the principal balance every single month, that's kind of like just putting your money into a separate bank account that you can cash out at any point. The problem with your home, though, is that it's your home. And so if you need that money, if you need to cash out that money that you've been forking over every single month into your home, you've got to sell your home. I don't know if you've ever sold a home before, but it's not all that easy. It takes time, it takes money, it takes effort, it takes movers, it takes finding a new home. It's a mess. And so if you find yourself in a situation where you need to cash out the equity of your home, the equity that you've been building up by putting money into your principal balance all this time, it's going to take you a while and it's going to be painful. And for me, this really just doesn't make any sense. I'm not comfortable with a huge portion of my net worth tied up in an asset that I can't touch for at least a few months. It's not really how I operate. I would much rather have my money sitting in an investment somewhere that I could cash out at any point, have access to it within a few days if I really absolutely needed it, and, pay the taxes on it if I absolutely have to. So when it comes to the question, should you pay off your mortgage? For me, the answer is absolutely not. It doesn't make any sense from a money standpoint, and it doesn't make any sense from a liquidity standpoint. Hey, if you like this video, do me a favor and hit the little like button down below. It really does help this channel out. And hey, if you disagree with me, let me know down in the comments. I'd like to hear your thoughts, your opinions. Why are you paying down your mortgage? I'm curious to hear your reasons. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day, everybody.